another. We're just popping in where we've joined in from. If you're in Australia, if you're outside of Australia, wherever you're joining from in Australia, just pop in your state. Today we're going to be unpacking um, something very interesting, which I think would really, it's going to be a really good exercise for every one of us to really just get to understand a couple of different things from our experts in the house, a lot of things about imposter syndrome. I know that we all have different definitions and different understanding, but this session aims to, really provide you with that more of a broader view and how we can really, mitigate, or what are some of the steps or strategies that we can put in place. So yes, we're at time 10:05, so we're going to start. Now, thank you all for joining this session. My name is Taya Oriowo. Really pleased to have you all on board. Thank you so much for sacrificing your Saturday morning, spending today with us, just really learning from our guest who they have very graciously, you know, graced us with their presence. I'm really very, very excited for this one. So yes, there's the quick agenda for what we've got packed for today is really, we're going to go, introduction, get to meet our guest and delving into more of what really is imposter syndrome. I feel like imposter syndrome sometimes can present as such a big word. And I know that there's some things that a lot of people feel that they have considered or think to be imposter syndrome, but actually isn't imposter syndrome. So today is going to give us an opportunity to demystify some of those myths, some of the things that you currently consider and you think is imposter syndrome, or it is really imposter syndrome. And we're going to do the round the room conversation as well, where we get to, meet our guests are going to be sharing a couple of more practical things from their own experience, and we'll take question and answers from everyone. But yeah, so that's sort of like the structure that we're going to go through. So please hang in there, stay with us, pop in. If you've got a view or you've got a question at any point in time, please feel free to, use the comment section. We'll be really excited to take your questions as soon as we're able to. So yes, without wasting further time, I like to say that even as someone like myself, when I think about the word imposter syndrome, actually, did some self like reflection and just thinking about my journey and thinking about those pesky feelings when they come, and you know, it's just sometimes you don't even realize that that's what you're feeling, but it becomes a massive situation when you come to the realization that this is continuing to just eat me up, and to just it just stays with you. It's like it's a feeling that you're unable to shake off. At least I know that for me. I recall on my project, one of my projects that I was working on, and to be honest, it was new for me at that point in time. And I had done this work in my head, really good work. Well, I didn't think it was really good work, but I thought, yes, I was doing the job, I was doing my deliverables, and I got this recognition. So I don't know, for people that work in corporate, oftentimes when there's a recognition, like a lot of people will see it. And I work in this really big company where everyone could see the recognition. And in my head, I was thinking, okay, what next? What else am I going to do? And even I realized a lot of my emotions was filled with a lot of doubt rather than excitement. I mean, think about it. I've just gotten this huge recognition from a top eye level, like eye influential stakeholder. And rather than me being filled with those feelings of, yes, I've just won a jackpot. This is really good for me. Like, I mean, we all love to be recognized. Like when you do a good job and someone says, you're getting a card where more than 1,000 people in the company can see that, and people are putting comments like, oh, good job, Tayo, well done for the amazing work, I've worked with Tayo, I know, da 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 da. But I realized that that feeling that I was feeling was not that of excitement where I meant to say to my friends, let's go for, I'm going to take you to dinner because I just got this amazing recognition, right? So it's those sort of things where rather than you having those feelings of excitement that is meant to really just fuel you up, allows you to soak in the moment of the hard work that I've put into that work. At that point in time, I was not in a position to think about the hard work that I had done. I was not in a position to even appreciate this person sending me a card, right? Sending me publicly, not even just Teams messaging me to say, you're tired, really appreciate specific words. Your business analysis work was absolutely phenomenal. Let me call out your stakeholder engagement because the project I was working on was so massive. There was lots of different stakeholders. So for her, that singular act really stood out for her. It brought the project together because if you're not in a project setting when you're dealing with different stakeholders, it can be a lot. And if that's not well managed, that can quickly go haywire. So for this particular, person, that was a game changer. That was really good for them. But just looking at me, getting all that compliment, not being able to soak myself into it was, yeah, it's something that it's one of the things that we want to talk about today. Not being able to allow yourself feel the success that you've worked out for, the accomplishment, even taking journey of upskilling, transitioning, things like that. Those things take a lot of hard work, right? So those are some of the things that we're going to be uncovering today. And just without wasting our time, I'm also going to do a quick introduction of our amazing guest. Yes, so we've got the lovely Rachel Pierce in the room. So I'm gonna do while I try to pop up Rachel, I will do a little bit of introduction of Rachel, then we are going to get Rachel to talk about herself. So yes, please stay with me as I read a quick citation for Rachel. So in 2019, Rachel relocated to Sydney, Australia to pursue a master's in conservative biology at Macquarie University. Upon evaluating the situation and considering various options, she decided to explore education opportunities at Torrens University, where she eventually graduated with a master's in business information system. During her studies, just like every immigrant in the country, Rachel worked in different warehouses and explored sectors such as the disability sector. Now, upon completing her degree, she quickly secured a customer support role at one of the largest insurance underwriting companies in Australia and South Africa. Due to her excellent performance, she applied for a higher position within the organization as a product analyst. Despite spending 2 years in the role, Rachel did feel unfulfilled. Now, she sought guidance and she decided to consult a friend who referred her to Sync Skills, Taya specifically. Taya was incredible. She provided significant end-to-end support during Rachel's program with Sync Skills, where she took tutelage from the whole team, whom she's extremely grateful for their support, and the person of Noah, Tosin, and Taya. These great people helped her transition into a business analysis role, which she will diverge uh, into the more interesting part of the transition story. Today, Rachel stands in as a versatile business analyst working with a leading healthcare organization with over 10,000 employees across Australia. She acknowledges that the transition was challenging, but the perks and job satisfaction of being a business analyst made all the others worthwhile. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rachel as she introduces herself to us and just talks to us about what she's got in store for us today. You've got the floor, Rachel. Let me just say that that's a brilliant journey you've got there. And we are extremely thankful, for your journey and just really appreciating the process, that you've called out there. But thank you so much, Rachel. You've got the floor.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Tayo. Hi, everyone, again. Thanks for having me today. And I'm happy to see few people I know here. Hi, Noah. Hi, Javier. and I saw Tolu. Hi, Tolu. So, well, this is me, Rachel. As Tayo has covered it all, I came to Australia 2019 and I went through different stages which most international students go through. And then eventually I met with Sync Skills and then we discussed different options available. So I decided to pursue the business analyst program with them. It was pretty challenging. It wasn't an easy one. Of course, I went through imposter syndrome phase, and I can say I still go through that phase in my day-to-day activities. It's my organization. Sometimes I have to tap myself in the shoulder and say, oh, Rachel, you deserve to be here. You've worked hard for this and you've earned it. So just, settle in and ease yourself in. I say that to myself. I find myself getting worried, even though I have I have prepared and I have what it takes to be in those rooms. So speaking about my education journey, I came here 2019 to Sydney, Australia, with Masters of conservative biology. Sorry about that. So the program, we all know the way it is with visa strategy in Australia, different paths to permanent residency. So conservative biology was not really feasible at that time. So I had to change my course of study to business information IT. So while at that, it wasn't easy, back and forth, working alongside, going to uni. I didn't really grab what was needed. And most of what I learned at that time was theoretical, not the real sense of practical work, which you could get with Sync Skills. And I'm pretty grateful for that. So then work in disability sector, as most people do, and also did a little bit of warehouse alongside. So I can say I have diverse experience when it comes to student struggle, and I'm proud of where I am today and the people I've been able to take mentorship and tutelage from. They've guided me through the journey. So I'm just gonna stop here for now, and yeah, we'll continue as we go ahead.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Rachel. I'm really, really keen to hear more, about your journey. And really, you talked about something really key there, constant that self-affirmation, telling yourself, I indeed deserve this. And that's key. And that's one of the core things that I really like us to delve into. So thank you. So yes, I'm going to introduce our second guest as well in the person of Dr. Aaron Philip. So please join me as I just do a very quick citation of him as well. So Dr. Aaron Philip is a public health practitioner for more than a decade of experience researching, working, and volunteering in the development and not-for-profit settings in Nigeria, United Kingdom, and in Australia. He's also a professional and celebrated master of ceremony. Amazing. Dr. Aaron is a postdoctoral research fellow at Australian Red Cross Lifeblood, an organization that has been delivering one of the world's safest supplies of blood and blood products for more than 90 years, as well as world-class research and expertise. At Lifeblood, Aaron works within the donor research team to conduct research on sexual health and diversity projects in relation to donation of blood and other blood products. Dr. Aaron has worked with vulnerable and priority groups in Nigeria, i.e. orphans and vulnerable children, injecting drug users, persons with disabilities, and sex workers, as well as with the Black, Asian, and minority ethnic community in the UK. In Aaron's quest for impact, he uses his personal stories to inspire young people towards personal and professional growth. He writes on development issues that premise on health, infectious disease, disability inclusion, human rights, and governance. Aaron holds a PhD in public health from Queensland University of Technology in Australia an MSc in Public Health, Health Promotion from Leeds Becker University, United Kingdom, and a bachelor's degree in microbiology from Nasarawa State University, Kefi, Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Aaron Philip as he introduces himself to us. Thank you so much. What a brilliant and amazing profile you've got there, Dr. Aaron. Well done, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Tayo, and thanks to everyone. You know, reading the citation here, I'm asking myself, guess is the imposter syndrome coming in now? If is that me? Are you really reading about me? I get very shy when I attend events and you have to read citations. It makes one feel, but I guess again that's the imposter syndrome coming in to say, you know. So it relates to what we're saying. I don't know, is it a time where I share slides or we
Yes,
just...
yes, you may go ahead. You may go ahead.
Okay, so thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Rachel, for joining. Tayo, can you still hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thanks, everyone. And everybody else who is on the call, thank you so much. Jude, Kemi, Linda, Obina, Olakunde, Olabanjo, Pilots, Rachel, Silas, Sunday, Tolupetosin, and Ugo. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining today. Really good to be here to share my experience as well on this very important topic, and really, really just to call out the important work that Tayo and Noah are doing with Sync Skills. I see your videos, I see all of the exciting things you do online and offline, of course. So great work, guys.
Thank you.
All right, I'll just share. I've just got 4 slides, so I hope I don't bore you, but hopefully I don't. Right. Can you see my slides?
Yes, from my hand. Can everyone please confirm in the comment section if it's popped off from your hand? Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Great. So I mean, we're talking about imposter syndrome. There's no point trying to even define imposter syndrome because everybody on the call is an expert on this topic, because everybody in some way and form, some shape and form would have experienced. It's my opinion that everybody in some way would have experienced this at all. So this is not, I mean, I'm not a psychologist anyway, so I'm not a professional in this space, but this is a space for us to just talk and share experience. I know they've read my citation already, but I'll just share a bit about myself. And the reason why I have to share about myself is because we're talking about the topic and it will help us connect to what we're talking about. So, I mean, who is Dr. AAP? I like to call myself Dr. AAP just for short. She's mentioned I've got a BSc in microbiology from Nasarawa State University. I've got a master's in public health. I've got a PhD, which I just completed not long ago. It got conferred in March this year from QUT in Brisbane. I'm a Nigerian. I'm a husband and a father to 2 daughters. You can see their pictures there. And the picture of my wife is the name, who is Igbo by tribe from Anambra. I'm from Nasarawa State. She's mentioned I've worked over 10 years in the development setting and not-for-profit settings across 3 countries, Nigeria, UK, and Australia. I'm also a co-founder of a platform which currently has about 67,000 members across Instagram and X. And then we've got a private group, of course, on Facebook with over 80,000 members. And it's a Study in Australia platform, which was birthed out of my drive of wanting to democratize information about scholarship, which I've been very fortunate to benefit pretty much all my life. And I have a picture of me there doing HIV testing and counseling in the field, in the rural area in Nigeria. Right. Now, my story and the dose of it, I just, pardon me if I bore you, that's a picture of me very little with my late mom many years ago. Now, at the age of 15 and 20, I lost my parents. My mom first died when I was 15, and my dad followed when I was 20, and they both died of HIV. HIV is a big thing in Nigeria, of course, globally, but it's a big disease. And that has my world has revolved around HIV and infectious diseases. My research, my work, my volunteering in Nigeria, in the UK, and now in Australia has revolved around HIV. My PhD was still in the field of HIV, looking at HIV among persons with disabilities. So I've got my work and experience intersects between disability and infectious diseases. Now, just a bit of background. So I attended a boarding school in Nigeria. For those of us who are familiar or might not be familiar, in Nasarawa State, I attended a boarding school. And I was in SS2 at the time. Yes, I was in SS2 at the time. I know, getting to SS2, I was in school. I always wanted provisions. I'll write letters to my family to send me provisions. I'm from a polygamous home. By the way, my dad married 3 wives. So my mom was one of the wives, and I've got fantastic and amazing step siblings. So I was writing letters to my mom to send provisions and all of that to school. And my mom kept replying the letter. I know my mom didn't reply the letter, but I kept getting the provisions I needed. It was holiday time. I returned back home. And then my mom was not at home. And I asked, where is my mother? And they said, oh, your mother has been sick for a while. Let's take you to where she is. And so I got into the car at the time, 15-year-old me. We drove to a village at the outskirts of Nasarawa State there. And then they pointed a hut. We got into, a house that was, a compound that was full of thatched huts and all of that. And they pointed a room. They say, your mom is in that room. And I walked into the room. It was a very dark room. There were pots all around. There were, herbal stuff, everywhere in the room, in the compound, were things that we consider fetish. It was the traditional healer's house, And so I walked into the room, and as you can see, my mom, if you can see the picture here, my mom is it's a very chubby woman. She's a chopped up woman. She was at the prime of her life. She had just been promoted to a director on collection and planning in the revenue board there. She had an amazing career. At the time, I think she had like 2 or 3 cars already. I can't remember. There was one she was driving, a BMW, and she had other ones she was giving out for people to do commercial transport service. So she was doing pretty well. And I was the only child she had from my dad, of course. And so I walked into this room and I looked at my mother and I saw a woman who I knew before I left home. I could literally count the ribs on my mother's chest from a very far distance. And imagine a 15-year-old walking into the room and seeing your mother almost finished. She had deteriorated beyond understanding. I couldn't recognize her again. And I walked into that room and I said, I speak Hausa. Hausa, it's a lingua franca from Nasarawa. It's a big thing. Hausa. Some people don't come understand Hausa. And then she looked at me and she said, my pet name is Junior. That's the name. Everybody who knows me, people who know me at home still call me Junior. She looked at me and she said, Junior. Yeah, kake. She meant, how are you? And I couldn't answer. I just started crying. Obviously, I couldn't recognize my mom. And that's how it happened. Fast forward few weeks later, the traditional healer supposedly discharged my mom from his treatment because the story at the time was my mom, who, because she had just been promoted at work, she was attacked spiritually with an ailment. That was the story at the time. And so because of this illness, she was inflicted with a disease. They had to take her to a spiritual person who will be able to cast out that sickness from her. And that's why she was not in the hospital and in the traditional healer's house. Anyways, fast forward to when she was discharged. They discharged her today. The next day, her temperature spiked. She went into the hospital, and that was a hospital she was not to come out from. And on the 7th of January, 2006, she died. But during that time, anytime I went into the hospital, I remember I walked into the hospital one day and I looked at my mom, and within me as a 15-year-old, I was telling God, please let her die. It was that bad at the time because I could see her suffering. She was no longer herself. As far as I was concerned, she was no longer there. And I felt that the only prayer I could do as a powerless kid at the time was to pray that her pain stopped by her dying. Anyway, we found out it was HIV, and all of those rights happened. She died. Fast forward again to my 300 level, sometime again, my dad got ill. He died. Eventually, it was the same disease. That has sparked up my inspiration. That kept me in the area of HIV, sexual reproductive health. Everything I do and breathe and speak is around public health, and very much in it because I've got that sentimental attachment to that. Now, when my parents died, this is not a sub story because it wasn't as if when my parents died, I moved back to the village. I became destitute or anything. Obviously, there were things I couldn't afford, but as someone who didn't have parents anymore, there were lots of things that I couldn't get because my parents were not there. And I knew, of course, that the only way to get myself, I tell people, I can't sing, I can't dance, I have no talent whatsoever. So if I was ever going to break out of where I was at the time, it was maybe through education. And so I buried my head in applying for scholarships. I remember very shortly before my dad died, I'd applied for a scholarship by a Total company in Nigeria. And we were on holiday. My dad said, "Oh, why do you need to go and take that exam?" We struggled. He gave me the transport. I went to Abuja, wrote the exams. And shortly after my dad's burial, I returned to school and my name was published that I had gotten that scholarship. And that was very timely because my dad had died, and so I became an orphan. I was being given 150,000 naira annually. So my pocket money, which used to be about 10,000 naira, had skyrocketed to I was now getting 150,000 naira. So I was living like I was a king. Got my first laptop, got my first suit, and all of that. But I knew that at the time, the only thing that could help me break out of where I was to focus in school because I had no talent. I still don't think I have talent. I guess that's when I started to try out to see if I could even talk at events. I knew I used to do debates back in school, so I felt, okay, maybe I can talk. And I started trying out doing stuff as a master of ceremony. Now I call myself a doctor of ceremony maybe because I have a PhD as a joke. So when I go to events, I introduce myself as a doctor of ceremony. That's a side joke. But anyways, I focused and buried my head in applying for scholarships. I felt that was the only way I could break out of where I was. Fortunately, I secured multiple national international scholarships. The first time I ever saw a plane or went out of Nigeria, even the first time the first time I went close to any airport in my life was 2016. In fact, the first time I had an international passport, 2016. And that was when I got awarded a master's scholarship to go to the UK to do my master's in public health, which was fully funded. Everything was paid. In fact, when I got the email, I thought it was a rumor. I still did not believe it. Even when I got to the plane, I thought, is this really happening? Obviously, because coming from a place where there was no how I could afford it. It was just not possible that I could afford I couldn't even afford an international passport. But anyways, that happened. I got scholarships, multiple scholarships I had to choose from. I decided to go to the UK, obviously. Studied there in the UK, worked a while, did volunteering in the UK with organizations in the area of HIV. Then I returned to Nigeria after my master's degree, and I worked in an organization with persons with disabilities. Then I conceptualized a topic, applied for my PhD scholarship in 2019. I got awarded a PhD scholarship in the area of HIV and disability, came to Australia, did a PhD. During the PhD, obviously, I gave birth to my two daughters, which I consider my most prized PhD publications. So while people were publishing papers, I was dedicatedly publishing babies with my wife, which was like to tell people that. Anyways, I finished my PhD earlier this year when I submitted my thesis for examination in in August 2023. I started in my job as a researcher, qualitative researcher with Lifeblood. Many people in Australia would know Lifeblood, Australian Red Cross Lifeblood. I worked there as a researcher on the donor research team. And now I finished all of that. And, doing all of this, people, and I put a thing there on my slide called the mentor. A lot of people, because of my drive of where I've come from and how I've gotten, multiple scholarships to study from undergrad to my PhDs. I worked with a friend actually started it. To his credit, he started that platform and he said, "Oh, Aaron, you do this a lot. Can we join and be partners?" And so I became a co-founder of that platform. And we share information free of charge. We review CVs free of charge. Everything you can talk about, scholarships, admissions, all of that stuff. I just do that. It's what gives me joy because I felt that was what took me out of where I was. But even with all of this, right, you sit and you ask yourself, just listening to Tayo reading my citation, people send me DMs. I mean, I'm big on social, not big, not like an influencer. When I say big, I mean, I like to do stuff on social media, so not like an influencer or anything. But I host a lot of spaces, webinars, IG lives, X spaces, anything you can think of, and videos on my website and everywhere, and talk about scholarships because I felt that was what took me out of it. And people reach out to me in DMs or emails and say, "Oh, Aaron, I've seen this, you've achieved this." They give you all the nice ones. They say, "Oh, can you be my mentor?" And I always reply them very, very quickly. And I tell them, I do not like to take up the title of a mentor. And I give them the reason that, oh, there's a lot going on in my life. I don't feel like I have the time to commit to being a mentor because a mentor is a big word. But deep down within me, I still feel like I have not achieved a lot to be called a mentor. You call a mentor with somebody, I like to see, oh, Tayo, Noah, they've got an organization, they've got things going. Those are people you can call mentors because, they've established this, they've established that, they're training people, they train lots of people. That's the kind of people I would like to say, oh, these are mentors. And that's the imposter syndrome kicking in to say,
right.
Because what it does, it deprives you of celebrating your achievement. It deprives you of being in the now. It lets you know that you haven't been anywhere. I mean, look at my life. I'm an orphan. I like to think of myself as a privileged orphan. I'm an orphan. I lost parents at a very early stage. So I grew up without parents. Of course, I had family and all of it, but I didn't have parents. I wasn't, scholarships came to my rescue. I couldn't, I did a lot to get scholarships, obviously, a lot of credit to a lot of people in my life as well. But I still feel at that point that even with getting a PhD and all the people send me DMs, I say, "Can you be my mentor?" I quickly tell them, "Oh, I'm not a mentor, I'm not this, I'm not that," because my imposter syndrome wouldn't allow me to do that. And so it deprives us of celebrating that. And that has pretty much happened all through my journey. At a certain point, you ask yourself, or people, of course, a lot of people I'm sure would have gone through being students. It doesn't matter whether you did a PhD or a bachelor's or a diploma. There are moments where you doubt yourself when you're in the heat of it, that what you're doing is not even fantastic. What you're doing is not even, it's not worth it. And so I think that that has been my story. That has been kind of where I've come from with all of those doses of, even with the fact that people look at me from the exterior. I mean, my citation was read very beautifully, but within me, I sit here and I even ask myself, do I feel worthy to even talk to people? Because I know that when they want to, when everybody on the calls open up their profile now, be asking, I mean, Tayo, why did you bring me to a guest to speak to these people that have got bigger profiles than I do? Yeah, because I know. But the thing is, everybody has something to offer at different times. And so during my PhD, I'd like to finish with a story. During my PhD, when I was in that moment of doubt and feeling that I don't have enough, when you want to compare, because imposter syndrome drives you quickly to want to compare your achievements with others, and then blocks you from understanding that, hey, you have got enough already, or you've got a lot on your plate already. And so I wrote a story which I will share with you now. And I wouldn't want to, what do you call it? I'm not going to show the story. I'm just going to read it. And hopefully it's a very, very short one. On my page, and I'm going to also share the link in the chat, anybody who wants to read. on my page, I'm very, very big on using my personal story on my website and social media to kind of draw people's attention to what I've been through and then how they can also tap into that. And so I wrote a story. It's titled, We Will Never Get to the Top. We Are There Already. That's the title. And so before I start, I'll just put it in the chat. I think I've copied that link. I'm not sure. Okay, that's a link for people who want to read later. But just go with me. So, dear friend, this is a letter to myself and to you. Dear friend, for those of us who are still here, I come to you with a short story. This is a story I wrote a few months ago, and it's a very timely one because I was asked to come speak on this topic. Dear friend, I come to you with a short story. Come with me. Yesterday at about 12:30, remember this is a story I wrote a few months ago. Yesterday at about 12:30 a.m., after conducting an interview for my ongoing research, I decided to go on Instagram before I caught some sleep. Divinely, I stumbled on the profile of a young man who turned 25. I was amazed at how many cars and houses he had already. I could see that he also had a thriving business. I spent about 10 minutes on his page, looking at his pictures. I was inspired. I felt motivated. However, I began to feel sad and down. A silent voice in my head began to whisper to me the following words. 1, Aaron, this is a 25-year-old with all of these achievements, and you're a 30-year-old, still a PhD student. 2, Aaron, just look at such a young man who has gotten to the top already. Genuinely, the inspiration I got in the first few minutes of being on his page began to dwindle. As a protective mechanism to maintain the inspiration, I began to whisper to myself, Aaron, could there be a 40-year-old looking at your pictures now and thinking that you have reached the top? I answered myself in the affirmative, knowing that many other people think I have gotten to the top too. However, here I was thinking I am a 30-year-old who has achieved very little because of the pictures of the 25-year-old man I saw. If you have been patient to read this or listen to me this far, this is where my boring story ends. But here is my message. While I was fixated on comparing my achievements with him and feeling like a failure, it was clear that to another person somewhere, I may have already arrived at the top of every achievement. As humans, we will have moments where we'll feel someone else is doing better than us and begin to make comparisons. While this has the potential to inspire us, there is also the risk that it can demotivate us and take us to the dark place, as it did with me in my short story. At such times, I invite you to remember that the position you may consider the bottom may be considered the top by another person. This should keep us all in the realization that experiential definition of top is fluid and never static. As beings, we will never get to the top of anything. We have been programmed to keep climbing. In my story, I felt the 25-year-old had reached the top of his career because of his achievement, but I am sure he does not feel the same way, and that is why he's still working. You may think I have reached the top because I'm a PhD student, maybe because now I have a PhD and working in an organization as a researcher, or I'm a student on a scholarship in Australia, but my story says otherwise. And that is why I'm still studying. I'm thinking of what comes next. Of course, I have finished studying now, and I'm still thinking what comes next, even though I have a job now. This is an unending journey for us all. The trick is to recognize that where you are now in your business, your career, your marriage, your education, etc., is your top now and may change tomorrow. So celebrate being on the top. We will never get to the top because we are at our various tops already. This is not just a story to inspire you, it is a confession of my experience and a reflection to remain grateful. I hope it resonates with you too. Welcome to the top. And that is where my story ends. And so I'd like to say thank you for listening.
Wow. Wow. What a story indeed, Dr. Aaron. Thank you so much. Well, let me begin by really just acknowledging, your journey and where you've come from. And let me just say that I feel even more inspired than I was, even though I've, have had to read a couple of things about you, but just really, learning about your parent as well, which I should say thank you for sharing and going to that level of vulnerability. And, I don't want to say, please accept my condolences. But then again, please know that I really do, genuinely understand how that must have been like for a 15-year-old at that point in time. And then, your 20-year-old self. And losing a loved one is hard, by itself, but losing a loved one at such a tender age is even, it's just something that it's unfathomable, but really thankful to God for your journey and thank you for sharing. But you touched on really key things, in talking about, I feel like one thing that has really stood out in everything that you've shared is, even though you've got this level of, accomplishments with your career, with, breaking all the others and you breaking all the barrier, sometimes there's that feeling of, okay, is this truly me? Am I truly this person? And just like you, I've been in sessions where they've read my citation and I'm sitting there looking like, can she stop? Like just stop, just don't go further. It's okay. I'm gonna just, wrap it up myself and try and rub the surface. And again, those subtle feelings where we have this accomplishment that you've worked really hard. And I know that even if you wanted to take 365 days to talk about your journey, it's never going to be enough. All of the hard work, all of the reading, all of the studying, all of the things that you would have done to get to the top. But then IS, in bracket, imposter syndrome, pops in and just relinquishes all that hard work and makes you just focus on, well, what if it's not even true? What if I'm selling a lie? What if there's something else that is out there that I'm meant to be doing? There's suddenly that, massive expectation that would think that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get there. And just that experience of being unable to internalize our accomplishment is, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Dr. AAP, I'm going to call you that today for the remainder of this session. But I guess I just wanted to find out again, in touching on the old comparison. I think that as a human, it's almost impossible not to read or not to look at someone and just not have that moment or even days where you're just constantly comparing. And I'm looking at Rachel's profile like, oh, myself and Rachel went to, the same university. We studied the same program. She's here, but I'm here. And even though I'm working so hard as well, I'm no longer in a position to really see myself as someone who is also working hard with threading my journey, but rather I'm seeing Rachel and I'm putting her as the benchmark, which can be very dangerous. So I guess I just wanted to ask from you, you just, as from the story that you shared where you were reading that story that began to motivate you. And then as you read even further, it began to do a different work, like a negative of what it's meant to do, where you're meant to take motivation, appreciate the person's journey, take the learnings and move, and try and see how that's going to benefit you. But rather, you're now overwhelmed with that feeling of fear, anxiety. Have I even done enough? Am I ever going to be able to reach the same level as this person? I guess my question is, when in that moment, what do we keep in mind where we're really looking at someone's highlight, as I like to call it, as social media is very fluid, blogs and things. They are people's highlight. I put whatever I want you to see out there. I could just be talking about, my highlight. And like you said, the 25-year-old could be feeling like, oh, I'm 25. They probably don't even feel the same, the way the story has, reflected them. But I just want to know, like, how do we sort of like handle that situation where you are surrounded with lots of high achievers. You're surrounded with lots of people who have accomplished, you're on a journey with people, they've gone ahead to move on because everyone's got a different journey. How do we maneuver that sort of situation? What are the things that we need to keep in mind to steer us back to the actual path that we need to be on, from your experience?
Thank you, Tayo. I think a lot of people have different ways of dealing with this. But for me, I think that what has worked for me and what has continued to work for me. I mean, I wrote that story 3 years ago. I'm 33 now. And that hasn't changed. There are times I go on social, I go on social media every day. I'm always there for different reasons. And you find, I mean, just this morning before a friend of mine sent me he was been looking for a job and he's not graduated yet. He's finishing his undergrad degree and he's been trying to get a job and he just sent me, contract. Oh, he got a job today. And he said, oh, he's been paid X amount of money. And to be honest, that is the amount of money or close to the amount of money I get paid with my PhD. And I was asking, really? This guy hasn't even graduated and he's earning this amount. And I've got a PhD, for God's sake. Those comparisons will always happen. But I mean, quickly, of course, is my friend, we joke about, but you're always quick to do that. But I think what has worked for me is that I quickly I pick one thing, just one thing, and I dwell on it. I say, yes, this person might have this, but I have this. This person might have this, but I have this. So I pick the good thing, the very good thing, and maybe I'm celebrating at the time. It might be that this person has got a job, but I feel that, oh yeah, I've got a beautiful wife and I've got 2 daughters that make me happy that I'm going to go back to, right? It could just be anything. So my trick is to always pick on one thing and hone in my energy, my thought, and everything around it. And every time when I do that, it blocks out the noise for me. It blocks out that distraction. And honestly, when I wrote that story 3 years ago, I was in that place. I was just online at night. And I looked at this guy and I'm like, wow. And I'm here in Australia trying to do a PhD, get a PR, all of those kind of discussions begin to come. And so I think that the best trick for me is to see there are a lot of things going on in our lives. Do not dwell on all of those things. Pick what you consider the most excited, the achievement that gave you the most excitement. It could be a job you just got, it could be, it could be a wife, it could be your kid, it could even be the report card from your kid that you got from the Akindi that they sent to you. It could just be anything. Pick on it and block out the noise. That is what has always worked for me, and that's the trick I continue to apply every time.
Thank you so much, because I like one thing that you talked around, the fact that it's not simply something that you're going to shake off. Like it may come, it would go. It's just that coming to that realization and recognizing it and just being able to focus on the most important things, which I agree that is extremely, extremely key. And just moving to Rachel, like you shared your story around the fact that you'd upskilled and decided to move on to a different career path, which would be really keen to hear. But I guess I just wanted to hear from you, when we say like the more success you have, the more accomplished you are, you may begin to have imposter syndrome creeping, because now it's in your head. It's like, you've achieved this, you had a goal, you've achieved it. But before we even get to you achieving that goal, let's talk about that journey of you upskilling and the role of imposter syndrome within that phase of your life. Was that something that you would say crept in at any point in time? And if yes, how did you maneuver, or how did you handle it? What was your approach, getting into a new career and just recognizing, okay, there's a little bit of imposter syndrome creeping in here. Did you have moments like that, that you would like to share with us? And how did you sort of like, wiggle your way out of it?
Well, thank you, Tayo. And that was a very inspirational story, Dr. AAP. Thanks for sharing. So, well, with my journey, I can say I still go through imposter syndrome phase like every day of my life. When I go to Instagram, I see everyone's highlights. Or let's say when I have a chat with my cousin and she say, oh, Rachel, I'm having my birthday at maybe Paris, or my husband um is going to maybe Canada or whatever. And I just think, what have I achieved? Or maybe another cousin say, oh, Rachel, I'm getting myself a condo in London. And I'll think, I'm not there yet. What is wrong with me? Even though maybe some people think, oh, Rachel has achieved a lot at a young age, but I still think I'm not there yet. And sometimes when I check Instagram, I see Tayo. I see her when she's rolling. I'll say, okay, can I just get myself better? What am I doing with my life? So it happens to me every time. But when this happens, I just look inwards and sort of count my blessings. I search my heart. I look at my blessings. I think about my journey when I came to Australia. Like 5 years ago, I never knew I would be here I am today. Or perhaps when I was just in the uni in Nigeria studying breeding and genetics, I wouldn't know I'll be a business analyst today. Or maybe someone would have said, oh, Rachel, you would have a son or you'll be married to an Australian. I'll say, oh, are you dreaming? How would that happen? Where would we meet? I'm just here in Nigeria, Ogun State, minding my business. I never see all this happening. So some people sort of say, oh, Rachel, you are made. You are a business analyst. You must be making a lot of money. And for me, I think, okay, maybe you're right, but do you know what I go through when I'm in those meeting rooms, in those conference rooms, when imposter syndrome sets in and I start panicking? For example, my first meeting when we had a big session in the conference room, I wasn't there to talk. I was just there, to participate in that session, just to observe. But I was still having imposter syndrome when I see everyone around. I was literally shaking like, oh, am I meant to be here? What am I doing with myself? And then they recognize me as a professional. They sort of, talk about the great value I've been adding to the organization. And I was wondering, oh, when did I do that? Did I actually achieve this? Is this me or someone else? So of course, imposter syndrome sets in at every phase of my life. But apart from looking inwards, counting my blessings, I sort of observe people's stories as well. I can just have a look at someone, read about them, understand them, look at their strategy and apply it to myself as because if you let imposter syndrome take the better part of you, it could lead to depression. So there are sort of different ways imposter syndrome can have negative impact. And considering we Africans here in this country, we are underrepresented, right? So that's even a big challenge for us. And it also has impact based on the culture and our upbringing. So, for example, in African home, most parents would have beat out confidence from their children. If you ask so much question, they'll say, oh, you're too curious. Stop asking questions.
Yeah.
All those have actually sabotaged us and damaged us in a way we don't know. So stepping into rooms where you have other professionals, I kind of think, oh my goodness, what am I doing? I don't want to ask silly questions. But the honest truth is there is no silly question. So all those, like, that's what has actually helped me. So I say to myself, Rachel, you deserve to be here.
Yeah.
You are not here alone. Sometimes I say, you are not here alone. You are here to represent all your African ancestors. So make them proud. That's what I say. I say, make them proud. You are the face of Africa in this room, so you don't want to embarrass them. So that's what I use. Those are my strategies. I just say some, confident words, some affirmative words to myself. So of course, sometimes imposter syndrome will get to you. Even when I was thinking about coming to this session, I was thinking, oh, why did Tayo think I can do this? Or why would Noah think I can do this? There are other people that could do this. Why me? I'm not a very talky person. So why have they chosen me? Or do they want to put me out there? So that's imposter syndrome coming in. But I had to fight it myself. I had to fight it in what they say, oh, Rachel, you can do this. Just just go.
Yeah.
So that's the strategy that's actually been working for me. Self-affirmative words, looking inwards, searching my, my journey and counting my blessings. And acknowledging the fact that some people are actually, looking up to me and admiring my journey and thinking, oh, someday I want to be where Rachel is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also has been helpful as well.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Counting your blessings, self-affirmation, telling yourself that you truly deserve this. Because to be honest, I completely agree with you, Rachel, in saying that you truly deserve something. See, like there are two sets of people. There are people who, when they achieve something, they want to celebrate. They're just thinking about what they've achieved. It's celebration time. I got a new job. I'm just going to celebrate with my friends. I'm going to tell everyone that I've gotten a new job. I'm happy. I've worked really hard for this. I spent 3 hours putting that application out, making sure it's ATS compliant. I done all the work. I did all the studying. And there are people who, I got a new job. Okay. All right. Why? Why did they give me the job? How come it's me they're giving the job? Really? I've never done this before. Oh, they certainly gave me the job because I lied to them. The only reason I got this job is because maybe I fooled them, or maybe I'm the smartest person, or I got it by luck. Like, and that can happen.
Yeah.
Like, that does happen a lot. You need to recognize that the moment something occurs and you're not in a position to celebrate, something is trying to rob you of all of the amazing work that you put into it. So do not allow it to happen. Nothing should really rob you of the hard work, the sleepless night where applicable, all of the good things that you've done. And like to your point, Rachel, where you said you're telling yourself that I deserve this. And on the top of I deserve this is you're able to then think about, what were the things that I actually did? When you think about the journey and not just focus on the outcome, it makes you appreciate yourself and pat yourself on the back. And like you said, like I think a lot of Africans, we tend to fall into that bubble of, in the bid not to loud or sing our own, we kind of then kill the trumpet and just not even think about, which I don't think there's any crime in blowing your own trumpet. I could go on social media and genuinely highlight all of the, like, you shouldn't be scared. If anyone looks at it and they think they're bragging, then they're the problem, right? Like, you should have bragging, right? We should all be able to brag. Hello, like, like there's nothing called bragging respectfully. Actually, brag the way you want to do it. Like, you've done this work, you've put in the effort, and you should be able to brag. Like, I'll share a quick story. I recall as since I'm in meetings, and to the point that imposter syndrome is not something that, yes, after this session it's not going to go away. It's not something that goes away. Like, it's like a bug that just stays around, comes, goes. You're able to shake it off. It doesn't make you unwell, but it kind of like can make you unwell if you don't tackle it. So for me, I've been in rooms where, even sometimes these days, I'm in rooms where someone says, oh, I've done this for 25 years. And instantly I'm like, 25 years? So how come I'm the one that is meant to interview this person? How come I'm the one that is meant to go and speak to this person? Why don't they just get someone who's got like 20 years or so, the years that is closer to this person's experience? And the danger in that is that can quickly rob you of being able to give that particular situation your utmost best, because your brain is trying to shield you. Like, you're trying to move into that bubble of fear and anxiety. Like, well, I don't think I really deserve this. I don't think maybe they'll find out, that I'm not really who I think I am, and I'm not going to be able to achieve it. But I've realized something on my journey is that if you don't know, you don't know. You can't look at people's highlight and make judgment. I recall this person, on my current job particularly, I know when I met this person, I always say something to my husband. When I meet people that have a lot of presence, I would say that person has got a lot of presence. They got so much charisma. And this person was talking to me like, the tone, very baritone and all that stuff. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to be working with this person. are you really meant to be here? Like, I'm at that point in time, I'm not thinking about all the good things that I've achieved. I'm now focused and looking at this person in front of me because they appear, I don't know this person, because they appear as though they may know a lot because they're telling me that they've got this number, years of experience. To my surprise, this person then reached out to me for a support on one of their deliverables. Like, in my head, I'm thinking, why? Like, it genuinely, like, oh, I was hoping, we could have this conversation. I just need a little bit of help with this thing. And I'm like, wow, you're gonna ask for help? Like, you can ask for help? In my, this is the person that you see as ultimate, right? So no one is really, I mean, there are people can be more skilled in you than you are in certain areas, but it doesn't take away the fact that you are also skilled. You can recognize that people have got more skills in certain areas, people have got more experience in certain areas, but it doesn't take away your skills as well. You've got your skills, whilst it may not be on the same level, you've got the skills that you need. Now this person reached out to me, and in that moment, that sort of like changed everything for me, because I had an impression about them, and I just never thought they would ever need help. My mind thinking, oh, they probably have it all figured out. I haven't done this for 20 something years. They've got it figured out. But my point is, sometimes it's a facade that we've just made up in our head. When we look at people and then we start to then feel less of ourselves, when we think about our accomplishments, that we're not making our accomplishments lead to some, self-competence to say, I achieved this, then that means I'm good at this. I achieved it, then that means there are certain things, that I'm good at, which is a big thing. So yeah, accomplishment should take us to that level of self-competence. At least we begin to build, confidence on our way. But thank you for, sharing that with us, Rachel. I guess, again, just really thinking, Dr. Aaron, in relating it to imposter syndrome and self-esteem. Do we possibly think that there are some things that they're not actually imposter syndrome and they're just a little bit of self-esteem issues underneath? Or is there even any relationship between imposter syndrome and self-esteem? And how do I recognize that potentially what I need to work on is my self-esteem issues, not necessarily imposter syndrome creeping in? Like, what are your views on that?
I think there is a fine line between self-esteem and imposter syndrome. I don't want to go into definitions, obviously, because it will not, everybody on the call is an expert on these things. But I think that one is able to distinguish that, because if you don't have anything at all in your life going, if there's like nothing working, and sometimes you have all of these things working, but like you mentioned, one is not able to, I mean, the idea of blowing trumpet, not everybody, for instance, is as open as, for instance, me, who wants to share a lot on social media, on my personal pages, or my website. But there are some people, because of, self-esteem issues per se, they are not able to grow. So they might even lose out on a lot of opportunities because they are not able to put their foot forward and take that next step. Now, it's different from you having all of these things and still telling yourself, oh, you're not enough, right? You're not enough. The imposter syndrome is coming saying, oh, no, you don't have that. Comparing others, jumping into all of those things crowd your head. But self-esteem can take you almost, I mean, with imposter syndrome, if you have that, like we've talked about those strategies where, I mean, myself and Rachel and other people can relate to this, where you just quickly hone in on the very good thing. And very quickly you are able to say, oh yeah, so I've got this, I've got that. And then you switch out from that. And then you're like, okay, yeah, so yeah, I've got a good husband, I've got a good wife, I've got a job coming, oh, I've got a 100K job. you quickly pick out on those things. Self-esteem in my opinion, because I'm not an expert on this, right? In many occasions will not even allow you to make that assessment. It keeps you dark. It keeps you bundled up to the fact that all you dwell on is that I don't have this, I can't do this. And so they say, oh, Rachel, can you help us with this? You're like, oh, no. Tayo, can you interview the 30-year-old, the 33-year-old, or the 40-year-old? Like, oh, no, I don't have the capacity. You quickly tell people that you cannot do it.
Yeah.
You quickly jump on the, no, I can't. In your experience, Tayo, you found out later that this person who you thought was high up on the ladder, very top of their career, came to you for help. Self-esteem at that point will push you to tell the person that, no, I can't, because you are the boss in this field. You're the one who knows this all. I don't have the capacity to do this at all. It doesn't allow you to even make that step. And this is not in any way some explanation that is drawn from some books that I read anywhere.
Yeah.
That's why I even when I write articles, I try hard not to define things, because in my field of research, everybody's definition is their truth. Whatever you define, however you explain anything is correct. It's your truth, right? And so that is what I think. I think that with imposter syndrome, I am able to I still have that leverage, that capacity to make assessments and say, oh yes, I've got this. Oh yes, I've got it. I just got it. I mean, it's Australian Red Cross Lifeblood. Oh, I got a job there. My colleagues who I finished PhD with, some of them don't have jobs yet, right? And it's not to shame them or say that, oh, I am too good. It's just to recognize that I have got some capacity that somebody recognizes. With self-esteem, I am not able to even do that. It keeps me in that dark place. It bottles me and keeps reminding me that, no, I can't do this. It's not possible to get out of this. Anybody who tries to give you any good, you quickly shut them down and say, no, I don't have capacity. I can't do this. Go to Tayo, go to Rachel, go to Noah, go to Ugo, go to Pilot, all those people on the call. They are the people, they are the professionals who can do this. I can't do this. And it's not to say that we can't get out of that situation. We can, because at some point at different times in our life, think about when we're coming up as kids, there are things that we couldn't just do because of, what is tagged as self-esteem issues and all of that. But this is a trick for me. I think what will work at that time, because the thing with self-esteem is, because you are sometimes incapable of able to make those assessments because of where self-esteem takes you to, then that is when you need to leverage on your support system. That is why it is very important that I should have a Tayo, a Rachel, a Noah, a Pilot, and we'll go, Sunday. All the people, I should have them in my life. I should be able to have those people on the call. Somebody might be on the call to say that might be on the call. I'm just thinking abstract. Somebody might be on the call that might have been thinking of all this stuff, and then he just listened to me speak and said, oh, man, this dude lost his parents at 15 or 20 or so. And I'm here bothering myself, all of that stuff. That is where, and maybe that person was not able to make that assessment before this call, but because there's a support system that brought us together to share ideas and talk through it, they're able to recognize that you're pushed out almost immediately out of that dark place because you've got a support system. There are many times where my wife has come up to me and say, she was preparing for a pharmacy exam at the time, and she said she made some comments about how the exam was so hard. I took her there, how it was so challenging. She was, drumming and drumming my ears with how very difficult things were. And then I asked her a question. I'm like, what if we're not even able to get to the exams? It means you wouldn't have been able to even write these exams today, right? And she was like, oh yeah, I didn't think about it that way. I'm like, yeah, think of the good part. They sent a report. They sent a very fantastic report about my daughter yesterday, who is at a pre-kindy. I can't remember how Australia talks about their schooling now, but yeah. But they sent a good report. They said, oh, she draws shapes, she does all of that. And I quickly copied it and I sent to my wife on WhatsApp, because I was out, and I said, this information was here in your email. You did not even share it with me. But there was a time they sent a report that said, oh no, Zoe is still trying to catch up with this and that. She's a bit shy, she's that. And I told my wife, okay, we need to work on all of these things. Oh, that day, she was, as a mother, of course, she's worried about her child. She's concerned, she has to feel that way. It's okay to feel that way. And just yesterday I said this information now. Sorry for people. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of if there are no Nigerians, sorry. I said this information. Go tell me this one. Then I went there and send one. But that is the importance of the support system, the network. That when you almost do not have the capacity to move because of self-esteem issues, there is somebody around your network that quickly make you realize that, oh no, this is not it. And then I would like to think that maybe you switch from self-esteem to imposter syndrome, where you now have the capacity to weigh the good and say, oh yes, I've got something good going. But I'm not speaking as authority in this field. I need to put that disclaimer, just experience and my
all good. All good. Thank you for sharing that. And honestly, you see the story that you shared about your missus like really jumps at me, because the importance of support in all of these. I mean, establishing that imposter syndrome, self-esteem, etc. The things that they're like a part of us. Some of us are able to manage, while some of us still like we kind of need to constantly work on it. But you see that singular act, that's me some days, right, where I'm just not focusing on all of the good things that I've done during the week. And then I know one day we went swimming with my son and my husband, and I sat down at the back of the car, because sometimes my son just loves someone to sit with him, just play with him. He just loves a lot of attention, that one. Anyway, I was in the car, and I guess my husband looked at me from the middle, whatever they call that visor in the car, and said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I don't know. And that's not very typical. That's not the way that I typically respond to things. And I just had this outburst. Yes, I have to do this thing, and then this other thing that I also need to do, and then I'm not quite sure how this is going. And then it's like, okay. It's just like, okay, one by one, let's like, what's the first thing? And I'm like, yes, I don't really feel like maybe I've done something on the at work, and I feel like it's not enough. Like, or maybe I just want everything to be so perfect. And I'm telling you, look, I've done this thing, but I'm not comfortable with where it is. It doesn't quite look or add up in my head. And I don't know if they're going to be happy when I present this report, or if they're going to understand this report. And I don't even know if I'm meant to be here. Do you think that there's something more that I need to be doing? Or like, and it's just like, wait, is like, are we still talking about the same thing? I'm like, yeah, look. So then he takes me back and talks about, can you recall this time that you told me about this recognition? Can you recall that email that you showed me? Can you recall that comment that person said? And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. And sometimes that reminder just changes everything. And it's like magic, like someone brushes it away from my head. Like, but at that point in time where I'm thinking about, I've gotten this recognition, I've done this, I know that I'm good at this job. Like, I know that I'm good at what I do. That's not a doubt. But there are days where, for some reason, you're just not in a position to really remember that you're actually good, because you have some other task, and you're scared that will you be able to live up to that expectation. Just having someone beside you, or someone that you can rub minds with, to say, this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And I think it kind of banned that word overwhelmed and said, can we not use the word overwhelmed? Can you actually talk about the way that we're feeling? Because every later I'm like, look, I'm feeling so overwhelmed today. Please, no one should talk to me. Everything's just happening all at once. So, I think we cannot overemphasize the importance of support in all of this, because you simply, it changes the game. So, if you're here and you're thinking, oh, I'm not too sure, or you can't internalize your achievements or your accomplishment, or even you can't appreciate your journey, please speak up. Please speak with your closest connection. please speak with your friends. It is dangerous when you've achieved something and you're not in a position to celebrate that achievement. That is not you being humble. It is simply not a good feeling. As humans, we should be able to celebrate even the tiny wins. We tell people at Sync Skills, if a recruiter calls you, like you get a call to say, I'm calling you for, we're calling you for this interview, that is a great achievement that you should celebrate. And I know that that can be a little bit hard because at that point in time, you're trying to prepare for that interview. You're trying to prepare for how you to talk about yourself, talk about the project, and really nail that interview. But if you cannot celebrate that small win and you're so overwhelmed with the feelings of fear and inadequacy and incompetence, that simply affects your performance in the next stage. That simply is going to affect your performance. And like, Dr. AAP said, his wife is, oh, you're not going to tell me about this thing, but you're focusing on this, and just able to gear her back. So that support is always just that your support can remind you of the things that you're not in a position to remember at that point in time. They can point you because, just with my observation or with my personal life is imposter syndrome can definitely put his head somewhere, but you need to be able to itemize those core things that you've done and how you got there. And just having someone tell you, this exam that you did, can you remember how many days, how many YouTube videos you watched, how many practice questions you did? You didn't get it by luck. You got it because you did this, you did this, you did this. And that oftentimes, you find out can help you. I guess my next thing is, let's talk about being a beginner at something. So here's what I'm driving at. You've never done something before. You're a beginner at it. You're just learning a new skill, or you're just learning just let's say a new skill as an example. Would we still call that phase, or would we how would we interpret that phase where we're simply just in a learning mode, right? How do we settle in our minds to say that, yes, this may or may not be imposter syndrome, but acknowledging the fact that I'm simply just learning something new. I'm on that journey where I'm learning a new skill or I'm learning a new career. How do we navigate those feelings of, incompetency that may creep in? Rachel, I may throw this one at you. Like, okay, I'm just in a position where I'm learning something new. I'm new at this, genuinely. I don't know it yet. And sometimes we can oftentimes we interpret that as imposter syndrome. It may or may not be, but just genuinely speaking to the fact that I think a couple of people in this room are on that path where they're learning something new. How do they handle the feelings of fear, inadequacy, what is to come? Like, for example, your training probably has got a duration. What would be your advice on handling those feelings of, okay, now I've done the first part of this thing that I'm learning, of this training as an example? How do I handle some other feelings of fear, anxiety, inadequacy, imposter syndrome that may creep in the moment they say, okay, the first phase of this journey is over, we go into this next thing? How do I marry the things that I've learned together to, should I say suppress now? But how do we handle it in a way that it doesn't affect us to be able to actually achieve our main objective, which is to land a new job or to, relocate to a new country or to, really, attain that height that we want to attain? What do you think?
Well, thank you for that question, Tayo. So what I would say is, when you are learning a new skill, it's a new phase, right? It's something you haven't done before. You haven't done this before. Of course, it will feel strange to your system. You wouldn't know so much about it. And for me, what I did was, okay, um, this course, fine, I studied about it in the uni, but I wasn't really, like, I did not really immerse myself into the program when I was in the uni because I had other distractions or every other thing I was doing alongside. So while going through my training, I knew this is a new skill for me, what I'm meant to do is immerse myself in the process, right? Find support system around me. Look in my class, who can I talk to? Who can be a support system? The person does not have to, like, you don't have to know this person from anywhere. You don't have to be friends, but you can just, if they have what you don't have, you can get 1 or 2 tips of them. Reach out to them, or can I share information with you? Can we study together? Can we be my study partner? Because you need that support system. That will be helpful in the journey. And also, any materials you could get your hands on. This is a new skill. This is a new journey. During my time, I spend my time on YouTube. I just go to YouTube. Anything about business analyst, I read it. Any videos, sync skills put out there, I make sure I watch it. I went through all the YouTube videos, different professionals, go to LinkedIn, find any resources around me. You have to, because it's like a boot camp, right? It's for a limited period of time. So you need to maximize the time you have to acquire all the skills needed. I know my main goal is to get a business analyst job, and I don't want to go there and appear as a mediocre, because I know I wouldn't get a job if I appear as a mediocre. I have to be sure of what I want to talk about. And I know knowledge is confidence. For me to have the confidence I need, I have to get the right knowledge. I have to be ready, right? So it wasn't easy. I wouldn't say it's easy. It's hard, it's difficult, but you just have to do what you got to do, because when you get the main achievements, you'll feel very happy with yourself. So what I do, get necessary skills, any materials, even I read extensively. What I'm not meant to read, in as much it's business analyst, I put my face in it. So learning a new skill, it's like being in a new country. Okay, for example, when we came to Australia, or when I came to Australia, I haven't been in Australia before. I don't know anywhere. But based on different research, I want to know about this country. I want to know this. The more you gather resources, the more you put yourself out there, learn as much as you can on that particular subject, you become a professional in it. And that will give you the confidence you need when you go for interviews. And also, of course, during interview, imposter syndrome will set in. And I tell people, the more you do something, the better you get at it, right? So you go for an interview. First interview I had, I was very scared. I was worried it wouldn't be successful. But I'll just take back to one of the points you mentioned earlier about celebrating your wins. Whenever I go for one interview, okay, there was a week I had like 5 interviews, and each of the interviews, my husband comes home with presents for me. He'll say, "Oh, Rachel, well done. Well done." Every interview, even when I passed my PSPO, he bought me a cake, he bought me this, he bought me that. He just made sure I celebrate the win. And he even said, "Okay, Rachel, when you get your business analyst job, we'll throw business analyst party." So just because I have others to look forward to, right? So there is, when you're transitioning to a new phase, a new career, etc., you need a support system. You need people around you. You need positive mindset people. You just have to block your ears to anything that could distract you. So that actually worked for me. And when my colleagues, or my friends or accountants come in and say, "Oh, Rachel, what did you do? What works for you?" I said, put your minds into it. This is not easy. You're changing your life. It's not just your life, your family, your siblings, because your success affects everyone around you. So it's a do or die affair. It's like you are going to war. You're going to study, you're going to pray, you're going to do everything. So it's not an easy task. I make sure people acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Right. I make sure everyone acknowledge that. Now that you've acknowledged it's not an easy task, what are you doing? Are you reading enough? Are you learning the right skills? Are you speaking to the right people that can help you? Who are your, I call it circle of trust. Who are the people there? Are they giving you the right information needed? So all those are, my strategy that I was able to use, and that was helpful for me.
Wow. Wow, thank you. Amen to that. Celebrating business analyst flowers. Heavy win. I love it. I love it. Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. That's really good. And again, you need, like, celebrating small wins. It just helps you to appreciate the journey. You get called by a recruiter, it's time to celebrate. You go for that, you attend that interview regardless of the outcome. You have to celebrate. I see your hand up that
yeah,
I'll get to you. It's just always really good. Always really good. Just doing that. Yes, it's not the end of the road, but at least it takes me to where I need to get to, which is,
exactly.
and I know that a lot of people wonder that the reason why we're really hammering on imposter syndrome here and why we're really talking about it is because it really presents with that blend of fear and inadequacy and self-doubt and anxiety. And you know what they say, fear kills faster than failure. Anywhere fear is at the top of what you do, it's really hard. It's really, really hard to achieve anything. I tell myself I don't go anywhere being scared. I used to. I used to be shy, and I used to like have a lot of nervousness. Like I would be really shaky. Like I recall, like there was a time I didn't know how to pray. And I know that this may sound funny. I just didn't know how to pray, like prayer. And if I was in a room where they would call me to pray, oh my goodness, I would want literally the floor to just open up and swallow me because I simply didn't know how to pray. And if someone says, so we're gonna, take turns in praying, oh my goodness, once it was my turn, I would say I need to go to the restroom or something. Because I was so scared, right? At that point, prayer, it's literally just say in Jesus' name and put all the words together. But at that point, I couldn't put the word together. To your point, Rachel, like you need to get skilled. There are sometimes genuinely you don't know it, so go and get skilled. You can't fake your way into success or fake your way into feeling confident. At least I knew for me, if you ever describe me, you would never describe me as, yeah, that girl, she knows what she's doing, but she's not confident. I just never wanted to present as that person. I wanted to be in a room. I wanted to be a confident Black woman. When you see me, you know that, yes, this person is here, they got presence. That's the type of person I wanted to present as. So again, you need to find out who you really want to be and then work towards it. So for me, to be a confident person, you cannot embrace fear or entertain fear, right? So I started to ensure I'm building knowledge. I'm ensuring I'm leveraging all of my support system as well. Really talking to them, ensuring that I'm rebuilding my confidence. I know that knowledge comes from power. Power comes with you having some knowledge, and confidence as well is built by you just really knowing that you're working into the room with sufficient information to pass to the people. If you don't have that sufficient information, you simply cannot fake your way into just building those skills. So it's extremely important. There's a place of skills, there's a place of support. You marry those together, at least you're able to slowly, find your way out of it. But very brilliantly said, Rachel. Thank you so much. Dr. AAP.
Yes, I just wanted to add, and I put into two links to some very short pieces I wrote on celebrating small wins. And it's very important because I mean what Rachel said struck a chord because you're starting a new field. Just program yourself. I mean, I'm not a tech person, so I'm pretty much a dunce when you come to this space. But program yourself to celebrate everything and anything in that space. So when I say everything and anything, it is deliberate. So I give you an example. I program myself all through my PhD study to celebrate even the emails I got from my supervisor. And if you go to my pages, I plaster it on my Instagram, on Twitter, on my website, on LinkedIn, I put some of the, my supervisor will finish a bit. My supervisor just said, oh, Aaron, there was an improvement today. I read your paper. I will take a screenshot
Yes.
and go and paste it on my wall and just put something small. For me, it was a way of deliberately inspiring myself that, oh, she saw a good thing today, there is movement. And then also keeping myself accountable, because if I put it out there in the world, there is that noise that I have made about this growth. And so I am not allowed in any shape or form to slack.
No.
I have set a standard, there's a benchmark. I celebrated this email, I have to move to the next step.
That's right.
I got so deliberate that I even celebrate rejection emails. I went for an interview in Queensland Health. I went to my iPad, I took all my notes. They say, "Oh, Aaron, sorry, you spoke, your communication skills was second to none." All of the rejection thing. The moment they say that, they just put a line, your communication skill is second to none. That was what I was celebrating. I took a screenshot, went to my LinkedIn, went to my Instagram, went to my Twitter, and say, "Oh, I went to Queensland. They don't give me a job, right?"
Yeah.
But they don't say they speak English well, they
Yeah.
talk well. It announces your presence in the space you are in, that this person might not have this or did not have this. But even the recruiters thought that is there. So if you're starting off in a new SME, it might be your tech space. Even to the point of those emails, celebrate everything and anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Exactly. And please click on that link, try and read it. I'm going to read it myself. Celebrating small wins, extremely important. It just ensures that you always stay grateful. You're able to just acknowledge the journey, the things that you're doing. And when you finally land that big break, you're able to marry it all together. Another good thing that helps is just documenting it. Like Dr. AAP said, taking a screenshot and documenting it and putting it in a place where it will serve as a constant reminder. All the accolades, all the when someone says, "Oh, you've done this," like I document it as a reminder to myself. I share with the people around me. I'm very speak quick picture, babe. Can you see this? See what this person said. Send it to my friend. Exactly. Do you understand? So that way, when you're not in a position to fully remember, there are people around you. They're gonna remind you and say, "Look, these are the things that you've done. Don't you let that annoying pesky voice in your mind tell you otherwise. Don't listen to that voice in your head." That's why I like that song. There's a song that says, "Silence the voice in my mind, Lord." There's that voice, annoying voice that you kind of need to always try and silence at all times. But thank you so much, Noah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
A little bit faint, but I can hear you.
Oh yeah, thank you so. I'm so inspired listening to all of you. I don't want to talk at all. I just want to listen. But yeah, I really want to double down on what all of you have said about celebrating small wins. I think that's one of the major issues that we've seen. In our experience with Six Kids, a lot of people don't want to celebrate. They want to like, oh, they passed their PSPO. They don't want to talk about it. They get a job. They say, oh, ah, I'm happy, all of this. But yeah, let me settle down first before I
Yeah.
celebrate. Your 1 month, 2 months, you still not celebrate. You can see Rachel's experience. She's celebrating every single milestone. I mean, like you never get to the end. There's no end. It's a journey. The process is more enjoyable than the actual result. I know that we are configured, the world is configured for us to just look at the outcome, only the outcome. Like somebody gets a job. You don't want to talk about the process of how I got that job, the skill process, the late nights, the deprivation of the things you love to get to that process. They just see offer letter. Oh, they are inspired and everything. But the truth is, the process is more important than the outcome.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people go to, we say now that we have the 5 minute rule and the 1 week rule. So the 5 minute rule is when, for example, you get a job, you celebrate it for 5 minutes. Hey, Noah, Tyro, Tosin, I'm happy I've gotten this job. 5 minutes, you move on. The next thing, you start to see people think, they won on the job. Hey, how am I going to cope? Now it's now real for me. They're like overwhelmed, like they're happy, but they're now like, oh, the next challenge. I'm forgetting to actually enjoy the process. And then, but if contrary is the case, like Dr. Aaron shared, experience with interview, like if they tell you no in interview, come and see. Some people actually go into their shell for like 1 week, 2 weeks. They are like, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Like, this disappointment is so huge, and you have to draw them out and try to motivate. And I think that's one of the most difficult part for us. It's like rather than take that experience where they tell you, oh, you perform well, but we're going another candidate, which we all know that they might be going with another candidate for different reasons. And like I always say, even if I apply like to the same job as all of you on the call, the fact that maybe I have experience than maybe most of you on the call does not mean that I'll get all the jobs. They might prefer Rachel in another job. They might prefer Kyle than me. They might prefer. It doesn't mean I'm not good enough. It's just maybe I don't have specific things that, or somebody is more aligned to what they want, right? So you should celebrate the win. Like Dr. Aaron said, he shared where they said you have exceptional communication skill. Pick that up, use that as motivation, even celebrate it. Some people will post their rejection email, rejection letter on internet, and by doing that, they get exposure, and somebody else will say, hey, look at this other opportunity, apply to this other, they get job, they get opportunities. So the point here is that let's always celebrate the process. You do assessment, we give you feedback. Don't go, I'm not still not good enough. Like we tell so many people, you've done well with this assessment. They still feel like, nah, I'm not perfect yet. Celebrate the assessment. Celebrate the certification. Celebrate when you get the interview. Celebrate when you go for interview. Celebrate that rejection. Celebrate the offer. Celebrate when you start on the job. It just never ends. Like even when you start on the job, you still face this imposter syndrome. That's what I want to add, that life is just continuous process of telling yourself that you're good enough, right? That you're not incompetent. Thank you.
Now that's very strong, Noah. Thank you. Thank you so much. And just, Dr. AF's little quote that I picked up there is, we'll never get to the top. We're there already. So you're there already. Now your current state is your top. Where you get to tomorrow is another level of top, in quote, right? So every day is you working towards getting to the top. You cannot simply ignore every other thing and just constantly, I can't wait till I get that job. If the only time you want to celebrate is when you have an offer, trust me, the journey is going to be a little bit difficult, because you will not be able to see or even appreciate the simple things that you're doing. When you get to a position where you can fully talk about yourself, even just that one part of an interview process, it is worth celebrating. That if a recruiter calls me today to say, tell me about yourself, I can talk about it confidently in a structured manner. I can really pitch myself to them in a way that they can understand. And you've achieved that. That's it. That's one milestone that you've achieved. You have it under your belt. You need to celebrate it. The training finishes, you've completed the training, you celebrate it. The PSPO, you celebrate it. I recall if you've seen the video where we posted about, a registered nurse's move to business analysis, I remember I had to even steer the conversation when I said, congratulations. And the next point was, yeah, so we move. Now it's, we start the job. In mind, I'm like, calm down. Let's talk about the contract. Let us talk about the job. Do you understand? I know I'm looking at you with side eye. So that can oftentimes, we need to live in the moment to celebrate the things that, like, live in the moment, celebrate the moment. And then the next step, you then make practical steps on how to overcome that hurdle. But nothing should really, really rob you of celebrating your achievement. If the first thing that pops to mind when you get a response from a recruiter or whatnot in other aspects of life is fear, or you not being able to, just thinking, oh my goodness, I'm scared, rather than you celebrating, you're scared, maybe they're going to find out that I'm fraudulent, or maybe they're going to find out that I'm not really who I'm telling them that I am, right? So sometimes it's just really important that we're in a position where we can celebrate, live in the moment, celebrate, like Rachel said as well, take practical steps to then think about the things that you need to do in the next stage. Now we've got a question. Someone's got a question. Okay, John, did you want to unmute your microphone to talk? Or do you want me to?
Yeah, but I can't put up my video.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Just go on with your question. Please go ahead with your question.
I think I just asked the question on direct messages. So I'll just check. That's my first question.
All right, let me see. Okay, so John wants to find out, how can someone experiencing imposter syndrome assist colleagues when they are unable to assist themselves? That's a very interesting one. Rachel, Dr. Haran, which one of you would like to take that?
Because I listened to Rachel. Rachel was like, you can pinpoint somebody you can easily talk to or work with. And I was like wondering, how can you really know somebody you can work with when you are not inside of them to know what's going on, like in their life, endeavors? Maybe they might be facing some sort of challenges. You might not know. You just like, how do you identify that person you can easily work with?
That's a very
Okay.
good question, John. Richard, you want to get it?
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so well, I understand the perspective is coming from. So for me, like in our class, right, while I was with Sync Skills and the training, I see the way we all conduct ourselves in class, right? I could see like, okay, who answers questions most, who submits assignments early. Like, I know who is better than me. I know who I can take lessons from. So if I see that, oh, John actually answers the question most, or maybe the question Noah asked John today, John actually answered it very well. Then in my head, I will quickly do a math like, okay, John, I gotta be John's friend. John seems to know what I don't know, right? At that point, John is the connection I have to make. So I need to talk to John. I don't know what's going on with John's personal life, but at that moment, John has the information I need, and John has to be helpful to me.
Yeah.
So then I make friends with John. So it's not about personal life or what's going on. It's about what I could see, the way the person conducts themselves in class, the way they answer questions, the assignments, being the way they are outspoken, the way they share their experience, then I'll feel, okay, this person has what I don't have. Let me make connection with the person. I have a lot to learn from them. So that's how I make friends and I reach out to people.
Oh, thank you so much. And also, they said even a dead clock is normal twice in a day.
Yeah.
I know
I
that
know the
quote
same.
right from time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the saying that says that. So at the end, I still believe, to my own perspective, I still believe even if some persons are not answering some questions in class, they might actually have some sort of strength in other areas, right? So how do you tend to work with such people? Or do you ignore them totally, or you still want to tap from their strength?
So, John, basically what we're trying to say, and if your question is really how do you identify who you can work with,
Yeah.
and how do you handle if there's other things going on in your life, which at that point in time may not necessarily be the main focus for you, because the first thing is you having a conversation with them. But Rachel's point is sometimes, because you don't have a lot of time, you want to identify, you want to try and highlight or spotlight a couple of things that would inform that decision. Now, everyone on this call, I can't simply reach out to everyone to say, I need support. Say maybe I want to learn more about blood donation and support in that area. From Dr. Aaron's profile, instantly it jumps to my mind because it's got experience in that area based on what is shared. If I'm looking for a business analyst in the health sector, I've been thinking about some of the people on this call because I know that that's where they are. So that's me looking at some of their attributes, and it's helping me make a decision to say, okay, Rachel may be of help. She may be able to support me, but I will never find out except you actually strike a conversation. So you ask that conversation. So if it's gonna go, okay, if someone is too busy for you, you also find out, then okay, based on the current commitment, engagement, family life, etc., they are not in a position to offer me the support that I want. Do you understand? But at least you made the call, you reached out to them, and the reception or their response to you helps you to see if truly we can work together. You can take assumptions based on what you can see, but you never will truly know until you actually speak to them. When you speak to them, you can find out, you let them know, okay, these are things that I would like to do, we would like us to do together. So did that answer your question, John?
Yes, I think the question, I still have more to stretch out. Like I was in a team, whereby, so sorry about this. Let me ask you this question. Is this applicable to team or is applicable to people in classes?
Oh, I think Rachel's just talking generally. It's just generally. She's just
Okay.
like
How
taking
about
an
when it comes
insight.
to
Yeah.
team members working as a team? Okay. When it comes to working as a team, do you tend to ignore people that you don't see the strength in them, or you just tend to work with those people that have what you are looking for?
Okay, so I don't.
Oh, okay. Can I
Rachel.
answer that, Tayo? John, the
Yeah,
point is, like, for example, so we have to sort of put ourselves out there.
yeah,
In my organization, there's a saying my boss has. He says, if you won't contribute to a meeting, don't be in that meeting, right?
yeah,
Because if you don't say things, if you don't participate, people won't really identify you or acknowledge you. That's just the way it is. That's why extroverts, they kind of make it far ahead above introverts, because some of us, like for me, I'm an introvert. I don't really like talking often, but I
yeah,
know it's not going to pave way for me in life. So I
yeah,
kind of put myself out there. So, like, what everyone should do is we should always try to put ourselves out there, because, to be honest, people won't wait for us. They will only acknowledge people that put themselves out there. You
yeah,
understand? I know as a team, we have to carry everyone along. We have to, but in typical life scenario, it doesn't happen that way. So you have to strive to put yourself out there, because for me, I know at work, if I don't participate or speak out in a meeting, I won't be acknowledged, and that doesn't look good for my performance review, right? So even in a team setup, you just have to try to put yourself out there. At least I know we all have personal endeavors. We have things that are going on in our life that hinders the way we present ourselves. But even with that, when we are in a particular sector, at that moment, we have to be present. We have to contribute our best. So if that's what you're trying to say, that, oh, the quiet people will be left behind in the background or won't be communicated, I know. But sadly, that's our life is. We just have to, put ourselves out there so we get acknowledged.
Thank you, Rachel. Really amazing. And thanks, John, for that question. Brilliant. Pilot, I see, very cognizant of our time. So very quickly, Pilot, Adizen, Dr. Israel, Pastor Israel. All right, Pilot, you go, please.
Yeah, just have a bit for Rachel. So while we were discussing before the class started, Bolaji had made reference to checking on jobs on LinkedIn and and some of the websites. And after the class, it's something that I do from time to time. I just go and I check on jobs. But I noticed that when I'm checking on the jobs, when I read the JD, the job descriptions, I kind
Yeah.
of, I kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say shy away from certain jobs that have certain descriptions. Like some of them would say huge experience in finance, or some will require CPA. That I honestly don't know what CPA means, but I know it's an accounting consideration. So, did you have this sort of feeling, when you are applying for jobs? Normally, from my background, I'm a pharmacist. So when I'm applying for a pharmacist job, I just slam whatever it is because I've got experience across
Yeah.
all
Mm,
sectors. But being a business analyst, which is going to be new, and I'm saying
mm.
I'm seeing certain jobs that I feel like it's a bit technical. Oh, I can't deal with this. How did you deal with this as a fresh BA out of boot camp? And did you because if I were to apply for jobs right now, I know certainly that
Yeah.
I would avoid those ones. I would say, that's not for me.
Mm.
And I'll just go for the generic ones that feels like it suits me. I don't know if my
Okay.
question makes sense.
Yeah, great
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. Great question. Well, it makes sense. What I would say is, when you check job description, right? If you see you can at least do 40% or 30% of the position description, apply for the job. I would say it's not you're not really in position to make the decision. It's left for the recruiter to make the decision whether they will hire you or not. But take that leap of faith. Don't sabotage yourself and say, oh my goodness, this is 100%. I don't even know how am I going to do this. I applied for the job nonetheless. Then I rushed to YouTube or LinkedIn, type the topic, read about it. Fine, you don't know about all those terms before, but a 30-minute research, right, will improve your skill at that particular field. You don't have to know everything. You have to take the risk. So it's about risk taking as well. 40%, if you see you can do 40% of the task itemized, just apply for the job. And you will be surprised. For example, I applied for a job with my first role I got with Innova Solution. They typed something about Power Platform, etc. I don't know anything about Power Platform. I applied for the job anyway. Then I went to YouTube to read about Power Platform. Just, about 30-minute research into it. I got the information I needed. I went for the interview. You won't believe at the interview, they did not really ask me any question about Power Platform. My question was just about the main skills needed for a project manager, timeline, cost, scope. So you could see all those big description and you'll be surprised. Even when you get to the role, you may not need to carry out all the job description you've said. From the role I'm currently in now with the organization, their job description was up to 1 page. Or more than 1 page. It's about 2 to 3 pages. It was very, very lengthy and well detailed. Now I'm in the role. What I'm actually doing is different from what they had listed out there. So you need to, take the leap of faith, take the risk, apply for the job. You never know, because what they may be, what they may be after is actually culture fit. Most of the recruiter and the interview session, they just want to see if you fit into the culture. And that's the main priority. Once you pass culture fit, they may hire you because they believe they can groom you or develop your skill and you'll add other values to the organization. So don't sabotage yourself. Even if you can't do it, take the risk, apply for it anyway. That's what I'll say.
I really like your point, Rachel, around the fact that it's not up to you to make that call. So when you see a job description, don't feel intimidated. And it interests you to know that sometimes job descriptions are just really a copy and paste, shift and lift into the JD. And I recall Rachel's job description, very lengthy, and she's telling you right now that she's actually, what she's doing is completely different from what's on the job description. They just put something generic online. They know what they're looking for. When you go there, they will speak to you, they will make that assessment, and then they'll offer you the job. So you'd be doing yourself a lot of disservice looking at a job description and then throwing it out. Nah, they've talked about Power BI. Nah, I don't know it. I'm not going to apply. They've talked about SQL. Nah, I don't know it. I'm not going to apply. They've talked about this, right? The core thing is you've got the core skills required, and that's what a recruiter would be looking out for during an interview. So thank you. All right. We've got 3 minutes left. Adiza.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My question is for Rachel. Rachel, I am like you. I just finished MBIS and I'm in the disability sector. Now, my biggest challenge is how to transition, how to move from that sector into being a BA without my finance going down. How did you do it? How did you do it? Yeah, how did you transition without,
Well, I transitioned with sync skills. Talking about finance, so I'm sure skills, sync skills, they're there to help, with whatsoever situation you have currently. They have different plans that could, support different circumstances. So, yeah, does that answer your question, Adiza?
Yeah, I'm currently with Sync Skills and I really appreciate the support from Noah, Tayo, but sometimes even though leaving my shift to attend lectures.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, doing my tasks. If you know,
Okay.
I'm casual. If I don't do my shift, I'm not going to get paid.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand you. Well, for me, when I transitioned, I was actually on my parental leave because I had my son around June. So I was on leave. I was able to, go through the process. But if you are currently working and it's affecting other things, I can say maybe dedicate some hours. Just plan yourself and say, okay, I want to dedicate at least 10 hours or 15 hours to sync skills or my transition program per week. I want to use 2 hours to study. I want to use 3 hours to do research. And that will be helpful because even if it is 1 hour you can dedicate per day or maybe 5 hours a week towards studying or research, it will make a difference. So it's just an habit. And if you practice it for maybe 1 to 2 weeks, before you know it, it sticks with you. So you could try that. Dedicating, portioning and planning your time, right? Dedicating at least an hour or two to research and studies per week. It will be helpful. I know it's not easy. It's a difficult one, but you just have to do what you have to do because the end goal is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Adiza, Noah, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Adiza, think about the six figure you're gonna get in a couple of months, right? So
Yeah.
that will pay you back for any time you invest in learning. You're changing your life. So forget about the short term. You lose some money. The sacrifice you must be willing to pay. Seriously. I wish there was a shortcut we do, or you can see juju does not work. You can't use shortcut to get the job. You have to put in the work. Just keep going. You get the reward. You get it back in multiple for when you secure the job. It's gonna happen.
Thank you. Thanks, Noah. These are the main points. There is time. You need to dedicate some time to this. There's simply no shortcut. And I think one of the things that makes Rachel extremely inspiring is this amazing lady during her transition in literally had no Christmas. And I say that anywhere. She literally had no Christmas. Everywhere she went to, people knew that she was on a journey. She would carry a laptop when she was eating, when she was cooking with a baby. Everywhere she went to, she was with a computer. So the place to actually to dedicate for this is required. You need to give it some time. So, and I acknowledge and appreciate that there are still some other commitment that you need to really fulfill your other obligations from a financial point of view, but you need to just try and like compartmentalize things and break things down. 2 hours is better than nothing. Even if it's 30 minutes every day, is better than nothing. I recall as well on my journey to transitioning, I have a time alarm on my phone that tells me time to read every morning from 7 to 10 before I did anything. After I woke up and prayed, I had that alarm that would go off every single day because I know that how do I manage my conflicting priorities is setting time out. So you need to, even if it's half an hour, you want to block out every single day to do one thing. You have a timetable, you take that off. Oh, I've done this today, half an hour every day till you're able to then increase the hours. It just means the more time you give it, the closer you are to the goal. Extremely important. I recall seeing Dr. Israel's hand up. Are you still here, sir? Are you still, let me see if you're still okay. I can see you.
Yeah, stay here, my beloved sister. Oh, how are you, Dr. Aaron? Oh, how did I see you here? Aaron, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Doc.
How are you? Nice seeing you.
Yes, it's been a while.
How's your family?
Very fine, Doc.
Oh, sorry for joining late. I just look at the topic, imposter syndrome. I just want to contribute just few statements on this subject matter. And of course, as we know that when we talk of syndrome, syndrome is in form of clinical terminology which involve a combination or compendium of many manifestations. So, and of course, it is a psychological issue, so which has to do with inferiority complex. And it's not limited to this kind of sector. It affects every part of life, or the facet of life, when you are able to build your confidence on what you are capable of doing. So like what we have said, indeed, it is a significant barrier in growth and development of anyone's in life. And when we look at the etiology or the causes per se, you know that it is something that is developmental in nature. When somebody misses a developmental stage at a point in his growth or development in life. So what we need to do, we need to build the confidence, irrespective of what we are facing. I remember in my current job when I applied as a lecturer in one of the best universities in the UK, Queen's University precisely. So one of the conditions they told me that one of the things they told me that I will be the first Black person that will be recruited in that department or the faculty. So that one alone almost make me, you understand, now anxious, and anxiety also set in. When I resumed there, I discovered that out of the academic staff of 176, I was the only Black person. You understand? So I need to gather myself and say, no, it doesn't matter. It's not about the color. It is about the substance, what you are able to offer. So, of course, there must be expectation or certain thing you think that, oh, maybe I'm not capable of doing certain thing. I'm not measure up to the standard. But believe you me, everybody, those we think that have arrived today, they didn't get there overnight. It is a process that we must know. So one thing I've come to realize with the few time I've spent in the UK and also in my career in life, it doesn't matter if I know, I don't know. If I see any appointment or offer on job, I quickly put in. It doesn't matter if I'm not going to go there because that built my confidence. I've attended interview in the US, in Canada. In fact, there is one university in Canada, the University of Victoria, that was, oh, Israel, come. I said, no, I didn't attend the interview to come. I just want to build my confidence. So because when you identify your shortcoming, face that area, it means that is the area you need to build on. So focus less on your strengths, focus more on your weaknesses. By doing so, you'll be able to leverage on, because there is one idea that practice makes perfection. So from there, you'll be able to build your confidence. So it doesn't matter the job description or the criteria requirement, even if you think that you are even less than 30% qualified, still putting there is no anything. The worst thing that will happen is that, oh, you are not successful at this time. It doesn't matter. That doesn't stop you from putting it in. And those people who are successful, when you look at how many times they have failed in life, like this guy, the guy that discovered the bulb, Anderson, you understand? We look at how many times he failed before he was able to even discover this bulb, the light bulb we are using today, 99 times. So it doesn't matter how many times people say, oh, you have failed or you are not successful. You keep putting up your day, say you keep also practicing. By doing so, you'll be able to get it right and get to the top of your career. So once again, sorry for joining late. It was just the thing, but it is an interesting topic that every one of us must also work on, not just limiting to business analysis, all aspects of life, every aspect of life, even in the family. When you have imposter syndrome, as a man, you will not be able to charge your home. There's going to be crisis. As a woman, there'll be crisis. Most of the separation and divorce today are traceable. Causes of it are traceable to this kind of condition, imposter syndrome. So it is not just about what you want to do. And even when you get that offer, how do you establish your relationship with co-workers? That is to tell you that we need to deal on this syndrome. It is a syndrome that is demonic, that is evil, that can destroy our career if it will not handle on time. Thank you, Sister Tayo.
Thank you so much, Sam. Very brilliantly said. Really, really appreciate it. And we do apologize, everyone. We're going past time, so we'll be finishing in 3 minutes. Please follow our guest. Please follow Sync Skills on social media if you're not doing so already. Pilot, I took a question from you once, but I'm gonna take iPhone. Who is iPhone? Very quickly,
just quickly, I just wanted to give my own contribution to what Hadiza asked. What works for me, and it could be useful for her.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I did at the beginning of the bootcamp was that I walked up to my rostering team and I told them, look, I am not going to be available on Thursdays and Fridays, and I'm happy to take some other shifts, even if it's not up to the same hours. So they told me, hey, Pilot, this is what we have. We've got nothing on Thursday to change. You've got to do the Thursday shift, but on Friday we can maybe give you a 4-hour in the morning or earlier. And I told him, okay, I'm gonna take it. And it was a good substitute for me in the long term because I was trying to achieve something and I didn't just do away with my hours. And for
And for the Thursday, what I did was, since the classes starts by 5 p.m., I make sure that I start the shift, and my shift starts by 6 p.m. So I make sure that I start driving to the shift before 5 p.m. I get settled in, and I kind of strike a deal with my teammate, and I tell them, can you just give me 2 hours or 1 hour, and I'll see how to just deal with what I have to do. So maybe you could just talk to your rostering team. Who knows? There could be something there for you, and you never can tell. You just need to stretch your boundaries.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So much.
Highlight very well said. Thank you. iPhone, do you want to very quickly so we can round up in a minute?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I just have a question. My question is, during the course of interview, if they ask you about a particular software that you know that you are not conversant with that particular software during the course of the interview itself, and you have no knowledge, you've not done any research about the particular software, in that case, do you say yes that you know about the software, or do you say no? If you say yes, how do you defend it? So in that case, what are the strategies to, because if you said no, they might probably decline that particular job. So in that case, how do you handle it?
So I can go. So
Okay.
if you like you said, if the situation is you haven't done any research, you don't know the software, nothing about it, please say no.
Yeah.
There's no point you saying no. I know this. I know. And start to blab. That ruins your chances, ruins your credibility, and you won't get the job. It's just clear. Now you need to understand that when you go for an interview and they tell you a tool is internal to an organization. Like it's just like the tool I use in my house is different from the one you use in your house. So if I need you to do something for me in my house, right? Let's say fridge, for example. We all have fridge in our house. The brand I have in my house is different from the one Dr. Aaron has. It's different from Rachel has. But if I want someone to fix my fridge, and assuming they've not seen the type of fridge I have before, should they be saying no? I've seen it. You don't need to lie, right? But you can tell them your experience. Assuming that you have experience with similar tools, you can tell them, oh, maybe I've not used Jira, but I've used Azure DevOps. That situation. But in your own particular case where you don't know anything about that tool, just say no. I don't. I'm able to learn quickly, right? I've demonstrated that, throughout my career, picking up new tools and learning. You talk about your experience working in different environments that they use different tools, and you've been able to learn different tools that way. So that should demonstrate that you are able to pick up new tools and learn, which is the most important thing they will want eventually. So don't think that you're the only one that does not know that tool. There are other people they might be interviewing that don't know it as well, right? So don't be compelled to just say, don't be compelled to say, if I say no, then they will not give me the job.
Absolutely, I agree. So always important. Of course, the presentation is key. You're not just gonna say no, I don't know it. Just if it's something that you've heard before, if you've used the equivalent somewhere, let them know. Look, this particular one, I'm not quite familiar with it. However, these are the tools or these are the software that I'm very familiar with. And this, if this is internal or this is what you currently use, I definitely have the capacity to learn it, showing that you're adaptable and that you can take on new skills. So please don't lie. If you've not done something before and you absolutely have no way of defending it, it just makes it all chaotic. But thank you all so much, everyone. We're at time. Especially, I want to appreciate our guests, lovely Rachel Pess and Dr. Aaron Philip. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday morning/afternoon with us. And to our amazing everyone on the call, we sincerely really appreciate you for your time staying with us. Apologies, I know we went 13 minutes over, but it's been a really beautiful session. So please stay connected. They've got the socials in the comment section. Please drop them flowers. Let's say thank you to them. Really, really appreciate, and appreciate everyone. Silas, Jabril, Abiodun, Linda, Ademola, every single person on the call, Tosin, Dr. Israel, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. And thanks, Noah, and the rest of the team. With that note, I say,
Yeah, just sorry. If you live in Springfield area, Brisbane, you can worship with us at Redeem Victory Chapel. And yeah, you'll be blessed.
okay, I like that. So if you're looking for closest Redeemed Church to you in Springfield, it's got RCCG Victory Chapel, and Dr. Israel serves as the pastor of the church. So if you'd like to pop in sometime, that'd be really good. It's in Springfield. So thank you all so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you guys soon. The recording is going to be ready for you to watch. So if you'd like to share it with your friends and connection or people that were unable to join this session, by all means, we'll get that ready and it will be sent across to you. So thank you again, and
Yeah, everyone.
God bless. Have a lovely Saturday.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.